Welcome to the Good Morning Education Show. Good morning. My name is Rotimi Itai. We're streaming from Lagos, Nigeria to West Africa to Africa to the entire world. It is the Good Morning Education Show. We always stream this show from Mondays to Fridays, 8 a.m. to 9 a.m., Saturdays 9 a.m. to 10 a.m., and Sundays on Sundays we are 5 p.m. to 6 p.m. and it's such a wonderful time. And without wasting more time, I promise you that you're going to be having an exciting time today on the show. This is the Good Morning Education Show. Tell someone that the Good Morning Education Show is on and it's live, and it will be nice for us to share together, learn together, because we all need to grow together. Thank you all for joining. On this show, we have experts, analysts, and of course, guests and friends who are actually going to come online, share their thoughts, their opinion, their experiences on the subject matter of discussion. On this show, we also open the door for you out there, our tribe members, our viewers out there, to ask your questions on the subject matter of the day, but not just stopping at asking questions, but we also give you the privilege and the opportunity to make contributions. And please do not hesitate to ask your questions, make your contributions. And of course, if it is your first time on the Good Morning Education Show, we'd like to say special welcome to you. And we have a blessing for you, bell of blessing for our tribe members that are loyal to us and consistently come online to join us on the show. Bell of the first time, and fantastic comments and questions that probably might be asked. We will also give the bell of blessing. It's always a great morning, as we will usually say on the Good Morning Education Show. And I have one of our analysts on standby already in the studios. Ladies and gentlemen, without wasting much time, please welcome Adama, all the way from Abuja. Adama, good morning. How are you today?
Good morning, Coach Rotimi. I am fine. I trust you are too.
Very well, thank you. I hope you bless us with your by showing your face today.
Ah, unfortunately, I can't.
All right. Okay. So, Finifolu, good morning. You're looking like you're ready for a rugby match.
Good morning. Yeah, it's a great morning this morning, and it's a pleasure to be here. Good morning to Tribe. Good morning, Nigeria. Good morning, world, indeed. And welcome to the show this morning.
Good morning,
Thank you
Fane.
so much.
Good
And
morning.
on that note, we will be starting off with our first headline as we say good morning to everyone. And the first headline is Sharia Commission provides scholarship, or Shari. I'm trying to get, yeah, Sharia Commission provides scholarship to 550 students in Bauchi.
Interesting.
550 Bauchi. Adama already has said something, so let's hear from Adama. Why are your comments on this?
I just said interesting. I mean, this is surprising, actually, and nice to hear. Um, I mean, it's interesting, actually. I mean, states like Bauchi State, like one of the states that we feel like more people need to get to school. And coming from Sharia Commission, it's very impressive for me. That's basically what I have to say.
Okay, Faithful, comments?
Well, like I said, about I think on two occasions now, that the news coming from the north about education is quite cheering. I hope it's something they can keep up. But one thing I would really have wanted to know is, of the 550 students, it says that those 550 students have been given scholarship over the last 13 years. So 550 is an accumulation of 13 years. And well, for those number of years, that's quite a low figure. But like our people will say, at all is the one that is bad. It's nice that they have this commission and that commission is paying attention to education and knowing that really what Sharia stands against is um, formal education. So it's a good step, but I would also have wanted to know what's the percentage of female students that have benefited from this scholarship program. Is it only the male students that have been given this opportunity to go to school, or is it across board? That really is what I would like to know. But so far, very good initiative. It says that they have had 40 out of this number who have already graduated from the university, and that for me is another 40 enlightened and taking out of a place where they were ignorant before. So good one.
All right, thank you so much for that. Let's move over to the next headline. And the next headline has to do with WASE, and this is a very good one, I believe. Nigerian government reconsider Southeast candidates who missed the 2021 examination. This is coming on the heels of what happened some days and weeks ago, where we had a disruption of the exercise in some parts of the country, especially Southeast. The willing students were hindered and prevented from writing their final exams. And of course, we all know that WASE exam is done simultaneously across the country, but they had to miss out on it. And we are very excited that this kind of news is coming, because obviously those who had lost the chance at that time, sure, they probably be traumatic at this time, feeling the trauma of not knowing what will happen, not knowing what next, all those kind of things. So what's your take on that thing? Finn, what's your take on that, please?
Okay. It's good that those that miss the exams have an opportunity to take it again, because their missing the exam wasn't their fault, or wasn't anything they could control. However, the concern I have at this point is the integrity of the retests. Is it that because now they're taking the exam again, the questions will be put together hurriedly, or out of the frustration of, oh, you know how thinking can go in this when things like this happen, like, oh, these children are stressing us, not remembering or not putting into consideration that it's not the kids' fault. And someone just decides, or a group of people just decide, okay, because we're having to set the question all over again, that we're going to make it as difficult as it can be. That's the only concern I have, the integrity of the exams. But it's a good one that they are given the chance to take the exam again, and hoping that going further, or that we will not have situations like this. It's better to avoid it and to begin to try to mop up the effects. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think let's hear from Adama, and I'll also give my own comment.
Okay, I just want to say it's a good thing, actually, just like Fayin said, because I mean, if you dash their hopes for this year, the next time they would have the chance to retake this exam will probably be like 1 year later. And we all know, like, when it comes to studying, this 1 year, it's like 5 years for most of us. So, like, nobody wants that extra year. So, I'm also concerned about the exam, because WIEC is an exam that children write and they go away with their exam papers, right? If it was that kind of exam that you write and you submit your exam paper, submit everything, they could as well just reprint and give the children to write. But people go away with the exam papers, and you don't want to repeat the questions again. So it's something they need to go back into their exam bank, fish out new questions, and give to them to retake for the retake. Basically, I think it's a good idea. I just hope that they're able to um, do it well, do it right.
For that, I just wanted to add to the concerns that we mentioned, um, of course, thinking about it that you don't want them to set the wrong question. Sometimes you might need to students didn't do well at the end of, so sometimes you might be thinking probably the result might be influenced to favor them, so there's no outcry and all those things. So I just believe that we just need to hope for the best and believe the regulators or the administrators of this external exam will do what is right now and what is not just right and professional work, but what is good, as it were. So of course, most of these people have been in the system for long, so we don't expect them to do otherwise. So that's what I believe, and I hope for the best. And then the students themselves will have an opportunity. Those who didn't prepare well enough will have an opportunity to prepare, and also make sure that if possible they get some mental readiness as well, because writing exams is not just an exercise of the mind, of the head and the hands, but it's a mental exercise as well. All right, so the next headline is Dolapo Oshibajo calls for greater investment in girl child education. This is the wife of the Vice President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria making this comment. Fee.
Well, it's not a new call. This is something that over time we have heard people say, "Oh, the education of the girl child, education of the girl child." But one thing that I slightly have a different opinion on is the education of the girl child is not a complete package in the school. It's not something that we have to tie to, or they have to go to school. They have to be formally educated for us to say that the girl child is educated. We have some of our great grandmothers, some of our grandmothers that did exceptional things in business, that did exceptional things as political leaders, as community leaders, and they were not educated formally, as it were. But if we are equipping girl children with the right skills and the right tools that they need to navigate life, to be able to make those, the whole reason why we're saying formal education, like the vice president's wife said, is she can read, she can write, she's aware of the law. Okay, so if she can read and she can write and that's about it. Yes, she can read about women and aspire to be like them. But if it just ends at that, then her education has not even begun. So I think that when we call for the education of the girl child, we should be calling for the holistic development of the girl child in such a way that she is able to make informed decisions for herself, whether she went to a formal school or not. She's able to think and say, look, these are the ways I can contribute to my society. These are the ways I can make my life better. These are the skills I have. These are the things I need to develop. And at the end of the day, because really we cannot understate the fact that training a girl or training a female is training the country. We can't understate that. So really, for me, the education should be robust, should be holistic, and not just the classroom education. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. How about Adama? Question? I know girl child conversation is very topical.
Yeah, for me, I'm just happy that more and more people are beginning to speak up. These things are actually very important. We all know, like, girls' education is a strategic development factor for any country, and especially for a country like Nigeria. So I am actually very optimistic that as more people speak about this, the more we have likelihood of implementation. Okay, so like Fian said, it's not just being schooled. It's not just about going to school, a formal school. It's about empowering women in all forms, to get them to take up leadership roles, to take up positions in key sectors in the country. So for me, it's a yes. I'm actually happy that she said she's speaking up. I hope that more people can speak up, and more women, more girls can get education, irrespective of the form it's coming from.
Okay, thank you so much for that. Very quickly, the next headline says funding problem of varsity, says Futa VC. Funding problem of varsities. I know that Finn is itching to say something on this.
When we're talking about what was it yesterday? When we're talking about a memo to our regulators yesterday, one of the things that we admitted is that the education sector is an underfunded sector. So yeah, the Futa VC is not telling us something that we don't already know. But as usual, I would ask, what is your prescription to move forward from here? Everybody knows. That's why today ASU is on strike, tomorrow NASU is on strike, the day after the polytechnics are shut down and colleges of education are shut down and all of that. But what should we be doing going forward? We've been on this matter since, how many years ago was I in the university? Before I even got into university at all, I schooled my primary and secondary school within a university community. So from as far back as then, I had been exposed to all these strikes and industrial actions and all of that because of funding for the university. It's an age-long problem. If at this point in time, we're still reiterating that this is the problem of the universities, then we're not going to move further. We're not going to make any progress in the years to come. What VCs should be coming together to discuss and to say is, yes, this is our problem. What can we do to mitigate? See, I think we're in the era of cutting things off. And the other time we're either cutting off jump or cutting off max, then we're cutting off something else. Maybe this is the time university should be asking, what should we be cutting off? Or who should we be cutting off? Who should we show that, yes, really, we are ivory towers? Who should we show that really we are institutions of higher learning and we can put our thinking to action and we can employ what we're thinking? If we're saying that we're training people to leave the universities to be problem solvers, then it should start from the universities. So that's my take on what the VC said, and I'm hoping that the next thing that we should be hearing from our VCs is this and this and this are the way forward for us to move our universities to that global standard where we want them to be. Thank you.
All right. Adama, comments on this?
I really don't have much to say. I feel like Finn has said everything. But then just to add, an underfunded school would keep reeling out on the will I say unprepared graduates. I mean, these are schools that are supposed to equip our learners and get them ready for the world ahead, and then they don't even have the ability to. The lecturers are not well paid. It doesn't make sense actually. So I feel like if we keep this way, we'll keep bringing out it's like the universities just keep reeling out graduates that are not properly trained, that are not properly equipped with skills, with knowledge, with attitude, with behavior, with anything at all. So it's very important that these universities get the funding that they deserve.
All right. The next headline that we have is Poly gets MBTE's accreditation for 34 courses. The management of the Federal Polytechnic Ede Osun State has announced granting of full accreditation for 34 courses it offers in the institution by the National Board for Technical Education. A statement by the institution's protocol, media, and Public Relations Officer, Shola Lawal, said that the approval was contained in a letter by NBTE addressed to the rector, Dr. John Adekolawole, and the accreditation of the courses that the institution secured cuts across ordinary national diploma and national diploma, respectively. That's OND and HND. So let's go back to Fee. You want to say something on this?
Congratulations to the Federal Poly Ede. And well, maybe one question I have is, before now, the individuals that have taken those courses before they were accredited by MBT, what happens to them? Are they going to get an upgrade on the certificate? Are they going to get a letter? What happens? What's their fate? But congratulations to them. Congratulations to those coming in now who are there now when the accreditation was done.
All right, thank you. Adama, any thoughts?
I just hope that whole KY, more like the before the accreditation was done, there was a lot of work in place to ensure that the school is able to carry out those courses and carry them out in their full potential. So for me, it's not about accrediting; it's about the content. It's about the quality of learning going on in those schools. Otherwise, if all of that was properly done, I mean, congratulations. It means more children go to school. It means more people have access to the exact course they want to study. I do hope that there are some computer related courses as well there. It's very important for the kind of world that we are today. Yes, that's that from me.
All right, thank you so much for that. On that note, I think we will put a pause on the headlines and go straight of the day. And if you're just joining us, welcome to the Good Morning Show. This is the number one show that you would like to call it in education, not just Nigeria and Africa, and boldly I would like to say dedicated across the world. And we stream Mondays to Sundays, Mondays to Fridays, 8 a.m. to 9 a.m. West African time, Saturday, 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. West African time, Sunday, 5 p.m. to 6 p.m. West African time. Thank you all for joining. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Remember to subscribe to our channel, like our video, share to the entire world. And we have a fantastic conversation today. And today's conversation says, our students should rule the world. I'm going to start by actually asking Adama, what came to your mind when you saw this topic? Adama, can you unmute yourself? Adama, are you there? Okay, Finn, we're talking about our students should rule the world, and I would like to find out from you what comes to your mind when you see this type of title. What was the first thing that happened when you came across this?
Saying this, the first thing that came to my mind was, oh yeah, our students really should rule the world. Yeah, our students can and should rule the world. And already we are seeing that happen. We're seeing our students, people that leave after their first degree to do their second degree in schools outside of the country. We see how easily they rule, how easily they lead their classes. We see how easily they rack up awards and are so outstanding. So yeah, seeing that, I'm like, yeah, I am being follow and I approve this message. Our students should rule the world. That's my first opinion. But then taking it further and deeper is this is not wishful thinking. This is not a good to have that we just think and say, oh yeah. When everybody says it's like people waking up in the morning and saying, oh, today is a great day for me. Today I attract money. Today I attract this. I attract that. It's not just us wishing that our students should rule the world, but putting in ensuring that we actually set foot on that path to saying that our students do rule the world. And it's interesting that in the past couple of days, it's like we've been having conversations leading up to this point. It's like we've been laying the foundation to get to this point of, look, let's it take off. Let us really see that we're not giving the excuse of funding, of poor funding, for as the reason our students are not doing well, or the reason our students should be at a disadvantage. We're not giving insecurity as a reason. We're putting in place everything that is necessary to ensure that our children, our students are high flyers and are taking their place right there on the global positioning.
So much. Because obviously what you've just done is you've actually helped to paint a picture based on the introduction of the conversation for today. As students should rule the world, we're trying to go beyond a place of desire, and we are trying to create it as a benchmark, because I'm sure a lot of people will also have that same feeling that you had when you saw the topic, and I don't know about others, but of course, it's almost like saying, yeah, why not, if not? However, we want a situation where we don't read it as a statement of bliss, but it's better to a stage, a scorecard, a benchmark. Because can we get to a point where we hold the system accountable for whatever it is producing, especially because money has been exchanging hands, especially because this is what we owe the community, and the community is a bigger space of the society and the nation. Our students should rule the world. And when we compare the results that we see, and when I say results, I'm not saying academic results, I'm not saying results from exams. When we look at some of the things when we look at the results that we have in behavior, when we look at the natural disposition we have, when we look at the herd mentality, when we look at so many things, you can benchmark these things with the fact that our students ruling their world. Before we talk about the bigger world, I'm talking about their immediate micro world. Are they ruling their world? Are they even conscious? I think consciousness of your world precedes dominance of that same world. You can't rule a world you are not even conscious of, And this brings us to the question, because I want us to address this today so that people who listen to us or who have the privilege to watch the replay much later can see that there is the place of competence, there's a place of consciousness. How do we get to this point? Because it's not the fault of the students. We're not talking about the fault of the students now. We're talking about the reality of the outcome. So our students should rule the world. And I'll ask Adama if she's here and she can hear me. Are students ruling their world? If yes, how?
Yes, I am
If
here. I can
no,
hear you.
okay. If no, why? So I'm asking you a question, Adama.
Oh, well, sincerely, I'm just going to make it like as straightforward as possible. I don't think our students are ruling their world. And I'm actually happy that you made it very personal. Let's come to their own world first before we talk about the world, right? I don't think so, sincerely. And one of the best ways to rule your world, at least, is you need to know, you need to be aware of the world you want to rule. You need to have the confidence, you need to have the competence
to be able to rule your world. I'm actually happy for this conversation. I mean, if you were here yesterday, I mentioned something about the outcome, and our regulators knowing, oh, what are we working towards? What outcome? What kind of students do we want to rule out at the end of a complete school life, talking about children moving from early years classes all the way to universities. So what kind of students are we looking at producing, right? And if this is somewhere to start from, okay, we want children who can rule the world, or we want students who can rule the world, and then we take it all back to the plan. Where do we start from? How do we address our content? How do we address to make sure that our children are competent, and to make sure, oh, it's not just competency. What about being confident in themselves? So I don't think so. And if I were to put the blame on a particular thing, I'm going to put it on um, our regulators. I'm going to put it on our regulators, sincerely, and the amount of planning that we put into our education. I've had instances where I have learners, I've had instances where, as a teacher, I have learners in Nigeria and in other countries sit down in the same classroom, right? And then when you are discussing ideas with these two students, there's just a lot of disparity in the way and manner that the students think, right? In Nigeria, we have a lot of children who are, I don't know, like they're just unaware. They are unaware of their present society. They are unaware of the world at large. There's just so much they are not aware of, and it limits how vastly they speak. It limits their experience, as individuals. And the same cannot be said of students, children studying, students from other countries. So you have children who are very much aware of what's going on around them, and they can give detailed analysis of whatever it is solution they are preferring. So I don't think so, and I'm going to put a lot of the blame on our regulators.
All right. Thank you for that. Thank you.
Can you hear
Thank you.
me?
Thank you. Yes, I can. Thank you so much for your submission. I'd like to stir the waters a bit before I ask Fee follow the next question.
Hello,
You see,
Fee. Can you hear me?
yes, we can. We can. All right. So I'm going to stir the water so that it will make it easier for Fee to swim. All right. So, you know,
Angel.
when we talk about ruling our world, we need to agree on the fact that what does it mean to rule your world? Um, and some things must be understood, which even sometimes we might get shocked when we tend to put blames on other people, and we realize that our blames are not in order. It's not all the time. And I like to take a different route from the ideal accusation mode that sometimes we give the regulators. We've sometimes been unfair with regulators because let me give you an example. If you are really looking at children ruling their world, right? One of the things that matter most is the resourcefulness of these children. And these things are not found only in structured learning environments. It's not found within the concept of what we call school. I think we've put too much emphasis and power on the place of school rather than the platform and the process that a school is. Let me give you an example, taken from Adama's conversation. In other climes, a child can be taken to the market without hassle, without fear, without the market is an open place, but yet an accessible place. Are you following me? Yes, we have glorified malls in today's context. The malls in some other countries, they are not a place for you to take selfies. It's not a glorified state of opulence or ambience. Do you get what I'm trying to say? It's a mall, it's a market. Let's give it the right name it should be called. If you know any mall that is popular, it's a marketplace. You are taking pictures and putting on Instagram. You are the market. Do you understand? So if children get to be conscious and they get access to so many things, their level and state of resourcefulness in their own being is heightened. This is school of some sort. School is not classroom. School is not uniform. School is not curriculum. I think we need to demystify these things. And that's why even schools themselves, unfortunately, are acting like blind people trying to lead the blind, because schools themselves are taking unnecessary responsibilities that they should not even call part of their service spectrum. You understand? We need the students to be resourceful. Number two, we need the students to understand themselves much more than understanding things. Listen, it's like saying which one comes first, the horse or the cart. You cannot be putting the cart before the horse. You can't. It doesn't make any meaningful progress. The children in today's context learn everything apart from themselves. We know more of maths than ourselves. We know more of subjects than ourselves. We know more of WAEC than ourselves. You know the curriculum. You know the marking scheme. You know the grade. You know the quota system. You know the cutoff mark. You don't know your own life's cutoff. You don't know your own life's score. So you find out that at the end of the day, you are not resourceful. You don't understand yourself. You will not be able to demonstrate competence in understanding things. And that's why you find out that our approach to things is such a way where we almost reveal that there's a scarcity somewhere in our mindset or in our life set, as it were. And then you move away from understanding. Then you need to understand that for you to rule your world, you need to lead your world. There's a limited rule, or there's a limited role of leadership we give to children. I'm grateful for schools that give opportunity for prefectship or prefecthood, right? I'm a recipient of that. It has shaped my life in a big way. I never saw it that way before, but I'm connecting the dots. But there are many other rooms and roles. You understand? Being a captain in a football team, you can't be a captain in a football team if there's no football team. You know, some people say because we don't have a standard basketball court, you can't be a captain in a basketball team. I mean, a captain of a basketball team if you don't have a basketball team. But you see, when we limit the roles and the opportunity for children to lead, they can't rule their world. They can't. They can't. We guide them. The only thing that you see these children rule now is their device. And you see why when they are on it, they don't give you, it's like a dog with a bone. They don't want to give you back the device. Why? That is a measure of their own space. Leadership creates space. And then, of course, the element that we must understand is that the children must experience their element very well, meaning that themselves and their environment there must be a bond. There must be something that they can easily say that I know this place. You can imagine when someone is chasing a thief and the thief is in his hood, there's a likelihood you will not catch that thief. Why? He knows where to hide. He knows where to jump. He knows which one will. He knows which plank can carry his weight. You understand? He knows if I are the one that will stop at some point to say you don't want to get into trouble by getting into his zone. Why? He understands that if you look at all the things I've said now, it is the element of the word rule. R for resourcefulness, U for understanding, L for leadership, E for experiencing your element. All these things must come together for the children to eventually rule. If you look at the baseline of this thing, the schools don't do more than 50% of this. This is something that society has to permit. This is something that society has to enable. This is something that parenting has to step into place. Do you understand? We have to, you begin to understand that this is why sometimes we only look out or look up to things that are already sorted, because we've removed the puzzles for these children. They can't find the missing pieces. That's why everybody wants an established society, from millennials to Gen Z. Everybody wants something that works. Why? Because we've not been actually, let's be honest with ourselves, we've not been part of making things work. We've only seen things work. And you're not telling someone to make a great country, build your nation, build your life, build your business. They'll look at you and say, while it is a nice thing to the head, it's good for head knowledge. But mind you, I don't have this experience. I've not built anything. The best I've built is a meal. Put cornflakes in a bowl, put milk and sugar. I built myself a meal. The best I've built is a game. The best I've built, maybe gossip, maybe friendship. You understand? And this is why we need to rise up and wake up. Average children we compare with that even are not even ruling their world, but they are aware of this. These are people who have been able to master or manage themselves through these things. So that's what I want to say. So now I'm sure I've stirred the waters well enough for some people to be able to swim. And while I was stirring the waters, Alero joined us. Good morning, Alero. How are you today?
Good.
Just good.
I'm good. I was unmuting myself.
All right. So the question I'm bringing to you is this. Now, listening to all that I've said, why should our students rule the world?
While listening to you, what came to my mind is, are we ready to shake this table? Because you touched on areas that we like to shy away from, and because maybe we have people who play in that field or in that area, or who are affected by things like this, we don't really want to talk about it, or we don't want to appear to be the dissenting voices. Thinking about this table and shaking it, I think about private universities where students are still kept under keys, under lock, where they have they have rules on what to wear, they have rules on what to eat, they have time out, or they have lights out in the university system. And I'm thinking, at what point are these individuals going to, at what point will they be able to take responsibility for their lives? At what point will they be allowed to make their mistakes and learn from their mistakes? We generally try to shield our children away from making mistakes, and it's a mistake on its own. Trying to shield them away from making mistakes. Let them make those mistakes. Those that rule the world today are not those that had everything handed over to them on a golden platter. They were those who tried, who failed, learned something from that, and moved on to do something else from that experience they had. One thing that I am particularly really glad about the American system in particular is that once a child is old enough to do certain things for themselves, they begin to entrench them in the entrepreneurial part of life. Of you can do certain chores and be paid for them. You can dog walk. You can you see high school students being able to babysit, and then they earn money from it. They become independent early. And these are the societies that we are looking at, and we're trying to be like, and we're saying, no, my child doesn't do this, my child doesn't. Yet they immerse their children in independence quite early on in life. But we shield ours away. We try to, in a way, we say we want to create an ideal world for them, but then we're taking away from them everything that they need to make that world work. Look at communication, for example. You talked about Gen Z. Gen Z is horrible at communication because they were born into technology. So all they have known all their lives is they even want to communicate with their parents, and they're going text messaging, they're on WhatsApp, they're just FaceTiming. So they're not very good with communication. They're not very good with one-on-one communication. How many times do you see them really do hang out? When they say they hang out, more than half of the time they're on their phones. And these are the students we want to rule the world. First of all, we need to take away all of those things that we put in place that handicap our students. It's the same thing with the classroom. We put a rein around them. They're not free to explore. They're not free to query their learning. So that rein we put around them just puts them in a safe space. And then when questions are asked, you ask them questions from that same safe place. So we're not tasking them to think. We're not tasking them to explore. We're not tasking them to put their imagination, their creativity into play. We just keep them there, and then we want them to rule the world. If by luck, if by providence, if by whatever, they happen to find themselves in a place where they are ruling the world, then they will rule wrong. Then they will rule bad, and then we'll make the noise and say, oh, look at this person in government, oh, look at this person in authority, see what they're doing. But it is still on us. We created that leader. We created that scenario that we are seeing. So why should our students rule the world? Well, because the world is there for them to rule, one. Secondly, because they have the potentials to rule the world. But what kind of leaders are we preparing to go out there? Let's even leave for society, for them leading society. What kind of personal leaders are we putting out there for them for them to have the potential to rule the world? People who cannot take care of their. You talked about the only thing they've been able to do for themselves is a meal. Some cannot even fix themselves a meal. Some cannot even boil water to make tea. So what are we talking about?
Okay, thank you. You've proved that you can swim. We hope you'll be able to get to the deep end. And as we're speaking, Ifyok joined us from UAE, and Olushola Olumide also joined us. Good morning, Ifyok. Good morning.
Hi,
Good morning. Good morning to everyone there.
good
All right,
morning.
thank
Good morning to everyone as well.
Thank you.
Good morning.
Okay, so let's go to Alero quickly. And the question I'd like to ask Alero is this. So we're talking about our students should rule the world, right? Do you see this happening in a short time? And if it will happen, and if it can happen, what's your own take in terms of what we need to do? That critical thing, one major critical thing that needs to be addressed for us to be able to achieve this in the shortest possible time.
Unmuted. Hello.
Hello.
Okay. So yeah, I mean, ultimately, our children will end up ruling the world. Time moves on, and the youth are, the youth are kind of falling into position. And I think we do need to shake tables much more than we already are. We kind of fall into one side. We kind of tend to fall or take president on one extreme or the other, and not try and merge the two elements. So it's either we overprotect or we kind of let children do whatever they want. And the responsibility truly lies with the individual guardians. So yes, we can blame technology, we can blame the fact that children don't speak, but who gives them the phones to use when they're communicating? Who gives them the technology to hide behind? I have Gen Z siblings, and we make them take away, put their phones away and communicate. We give them the tools, the right kind of tools, so that they can actually step out in the world and communicate and lead and make decisions for themselves. So yeah, I've lost trail of your question, to be honest with you. But ultimately, I do think that they will rule, and we just need to equip them with the right balanced tools to rule, because the world is changing, and in fact it has changed already. Whether we like it or not, it has changed, and it will continue changing. And we just need to give them a balance of the old with the new that they will encounter.
Thank you so much. I love I love I love the way you said it, because we can't absolve ourselves from the blame. We give them the devices. We have a role to play. That's why I was saying that it cannot be restricted to schools. It would be unfair to even be restricting this to regulators. And this is the question I would like to ask, because I think that maybe we should stop even talking about a larger collective. Let's begin to drill down and be very, 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 very specific, in how we say things. I still feel that there's a conspiracy behind the world, behind this, permit me to say this, quote and unquote. For those who will hear me, listen to me completely, and probably watch it till the end. So you don't pick a line and say something I did not say. But the truth is this: the world is changing is a conspirator line, or is a conspiracy line. And why do I say that? It's pregnant with meanings, but what we obviously embrace it to be is like everything but what it is. When we say the world is changing, it's different from the issue of night and day. We don't have any real thing to do to alter night and day. The world is rotating. We don't have anything to do with the shape of the world. We don't have much to change with the solar system. Yes, the world is changing. But when we begin to talk about the world is changing in terms of advancement, in terms of culture, in terms of commerce, in terms of learning, in terms of trade, in terms of empowerment, I would like to say this: it is not something that happens because of night and day. It is people that change the world. Any change you see in the world, any change you see in an industry, any change you see in an organization, it is people made, it is people designed, it is people driven, it is people deployed. And this is why I think that we need to also be asking ourselves, can we study change? And let's even say that, let's change the world. We keep saying the world is changing. What concept of the world? The world is also our children. The world is also us. If you look at music, for example, if you look at music, the world is changing. Let's use that word. The world is changing, right? But we are the one changing the music world, at least for now. In the 90s, it was heavily the US. You can't go to a birthday party and not want to dance Running Man. What is Running Man? I don't understand. We all run in our homes, but in a party, you dance Running Man. You dance, what's that? You dance moonwalk dance, you dance. All these things were changes that came to the world. By who? By human beings, not cockroaches, not ants, not insects. Do you get? The world is changing. It's the truth. Now we're talking. You can't sing. Afrobeat was tagged not just a type of music. It was tagged in a way. It was tagged in a subliminal way, like a paganistic infusion of art. If you say Afrobeat, I remember if anybody was singing Fela Kuti song, you're not just singing Afrobeat. It felt like you were singing a herbalist song or something like that, because of, no, it's the truth. I'm telling you. I don't know. Maybe I should not say much for that. I remember when I was in secondary school, and I probably will edit this video if I can. There was a clique of friends that we had, and we used to sing Fela's music in class. And in one of my report cards, I remember they wrote, "A good boy but always sings Fela in class." I knew that. I can't forget that report card because of what happened to me at home. But this because everybody is looking at the person that used to crusade that kind of beat or song. He called himself Abameda. Abameda is the weird one. And then you have your child singing about the weird one song. Come on. It's enough curriculum there to be guided, So, but what I'm saying is, let's even go to Olushola Olumide and ask this question. This world is changing. Can you help us deal with this concept? Can you help us deal with this mantra? The world is changing. Because we always excuse ourselves out of it. We don't know what's happening in the world. The world will soon change. 30 years from now, education will change. Why is it changing? What changes it? Olushola Olumide, are you there?
Yeah, okay. Project director. I think you've hit the nail on the head as far as the spherical world as it rotates around the orbit. Except for that, I think everything that changes is a function of the inhabitant of the world. It's like talking about time management. We can't really manage time, but we can only manage our activities within the time. So I think what we do or what we choose not to do determines the changes we experience in the world. For me, I think it is good to learn how the younger generation is evolving, because we can't really address the challenges if you don't really know the foundation of those. Like somebody mentioning, Alero mentioning that this Gen Z generation, I think we need to study their peculiarity, and that's put more responsibility on 21st century parenting. We can't limit it to school or society alone. Of course, the home front has something to do. And I think if you learn about their peculiarities, we will be able to help them. Of course, there will always be the blend of the old and the new. You understand me? So I feel they can rule their world. The world changing, like Rotimi said, it is those of us in the world that keeps changing, that keeps evolving, that brings creativity and innovation to bear, and that gives us the world in which we live today. The early researchers or explorers, they move from one continent to the other, even though they never knew what lies ahead. They keep exploring and believing that something better can be done, and they keep discovering. Of course, many countries we are talking about today were discovered. If they never moved out, they will not be discovered. There are still many things to be explored, and it depends on our innovation, what we can, idea we can conceive. So when we conceive the idea, we can see from our inner mind, and probably we need to live ahead of our time, and that goes a long way. Few people did that, and they brought solution to bear to their present world. So that's what I would say. Thank you.
I'll quickly go out to deal with the issue of natural excellence. I know that you're an early years advocate. Oh, if your is off. Okay, let me go to Adama. And of course, this question is applicable to everyone as we're about to wrap up on the show. I start with Adama, and the question is the concept of natural excellence. How do we pursue this? Because I think that a lot of times when people are able to, thrive in their natural habitat, or better still, when people are engaged in their natural habitat, it gives them confidence, it gives them capacity, and it gives them opportunity to go as far as they can. How can we begin to drive natural excellence, as one of the levelers or maybe enablers for people to rule their world?
Okay, thank you, Coach. As you were speaking, I was actually thinking about a lot of things, especially when you related it to the Nigerian music industry. And sincerely, it's actually the people who are changing the music industry. And if I were to relate that to education, I'll bring it back to the family unit, right? Each family, like it's more like you have your children, you know their strengths, you know their abilities. So why don't you explore their abilities and their strengths? I mean, within the frame that they are already capable of doing. So it's more like there are some, let's say, elements of development that we should bring into the child's everyday life. Okay, for example, personal development and leadership. As much as possible, you have a child, give them as much opportunities to lead. I mean, it starts by them even leading their own learning. Okay. I can remember someone who mentioned here, parents wanting to take away all obstacles from children's lives in today's. I mean, if you continue to do that, how will the child be able to lead their own lives? Okay, so it starts from there. It goes down to giving them opportunities to explore what is today. Of course, there's a lot of things going on in the digital world today. So, oh, let me make this child digitally literate. A child should be digital literate. A child should be a citizen, more like understand the values and more like the values that guide a particular society where a child finds themselves. Okay, now we live in a very global world. Okay, what are some values that we hold dear to us as Nigerians, as someone from Enugu State, for example? What are some values what are some things that you should never be found doing, or you should be found doing at every point in time? These are some things that we can start imbibing. Even some families have their own values as families. Make sure that you uphold those things in raising your child, and you let them know about those things, and they are able to go out there and represent both your family and represent everything they are made up of whenever they go out. So there are these values, but it starts from the family. And as the child continue to explore these things and continue to grow, hopefully they'll be able to find themselves, and they'll be able to use themselves as gifts to the world. Because I mean, there's something that a lot of schools do say these days: oh, I am a gift to this world, I will do this, I will do. Those are some things that children should be able to understand, that they are gifts, and they are unique gifts. They're not just gifts, they are unique in their own ways. And what solution they're going to provide to this world is something the world desperately needs, and they need to be able to get into elements to provide such solutions.
Thank you very much. And that same question, I'd like to pass it across to Alero, Ifiok, and Fee as we round off. So I'm going to ask Alero first, then I'm going to Ifiok, then I'm going to end with Fee. Very quickly, Alero, we're talking about natural excellence. How can we push this to be able to help our students to rule their world?
Yes, I think Adama basically said it all. You know, each individual child has their own gifting, and it's important that the guardian parent picks up on that and pushes them towards their natural gifting. Some children are better at art, some children are better at mathematics, some children are more technologically inclined, others are really into nature. So you have to kind of ensure that the children understand their natural gifting, don't feel the need to copy other people's gifts because they're not going to thrive in that area, and then kind of make sure that they kind of persevere with their natural gifting, because every individual is a thread in a weave, in a how do they say it? I think it's some Turkish kind of phrase, and every thread is important to the final pattern. Yeah, so that's my outlook on it. Just push people's individual talents, and those talents will make a whole. Yeah.
Thank you so much. And then over to Ifiok.
Okay, so I think a lot has been said here. So I'm just still gonna bring it back to the family unit. Um, with regards to flexibility with change, so there's nothing constant, and everything changes. And with the ability to be flexible, with the ability to adjust to changes, comes one's ability to be more creative and rational. So as adults, we have a responsibility to encourage our children, to encourage the children, because that's where it starts, right? Like, the family is the basic unit of the society, and if we don't get it right in the family unit, then of course it's going to reflect in the way the society turns out. It's going to reflect in the society. It's going to reflect at the whole national level when we're talking about improving the society. So I think it all boils down to guiding children to be able to live up to their responsibilities, to be able to identify that they should first be responsible for themselves. That way they can be responsible for others. That way they can contribute to a common good. Without this, I think we're going to have a problem for a long time. It all starts with teaching children the simplest things, like cleaning up your own mess and not leaving mess for the next person, to come and clean up. I think this transcends to all areas of life. If you spill it, clean it up. And as simple as this is, I think it's very vital with regards to guiding children to be in a position of leadership. Yeah. Back to you, sir.
Thank you so much for that. And then, of course, let's hear from Fee as well.
To encourage natural excellence, for me, give them room, give the children room, let them be able to exhibit their natural excellence. That's why it's called natural excellence anyway. It's that uninhibited capacity or potential to excel at something. So if you do not give them the room to excel, if you do not give them the room to express their potential, then there is no way that they're going to excel naturally. So we need across board now, parents, teachers, caregivers, in churches, everywhere we see them. You know, sometimes we see a child trying to do something in a mall and you want to be the nice adult. Then you quickly run there and say, no, let me help you with this. No, we need to be able to give them room, let them explore, let them be themselves, let them get in touch with that natural place in them where they are able to excel. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. But as we bring this to a close, I'd like to say these things so that we all realize that we're not just talking about something that has happened or something that is happening. We're talking about something that affects all of us. And therefore, it's time for us to have deep thoughts. And when we have deep thoughts, then we begin to have a force behind that, because if we don't want to end up querying and feeling bad about the results that we have, we need to move from deep thoughts to deep force. Our thoughts will create a force in us. And I love what Gideon Essien put out there. A lot of us are culprits of this. We begin with introducing technology as a form of escape route. And now it's coming back at us in form of reinforced culture. And we have to do what we have to do. We have to be creative, we have to be resourceful. Most importantly, we have to be involved. So thank you, everyone. Thank you, Alero. Thank you, Adama. Thank you, Olushola Olumide. Thank you, Ifyo. Thank you, Folu. And I'll copy Folu's style. I'll say thank you, Rotimi Itai as well. And on that note, we have come to the end of today's show, but we're coming back tomorrow, bigger, better, stronger. Make sure you share the videos, share the videos, like our page, channel, subscribe to it, follow our analysts on social media, Instagram, they're there, Facebook, they're there, Twitter, they're there, LinkedIn, they're there. And you'll be able to enjoy all that we have to offer individually and collectively.
Okay. It looks like there's an issue with the network. Can anybody hear me?
Yes,
Yep.
can hear you, Fiyin.
Okay, so I think we can round off the show at this point.
1, 2, go.
Yeah.
It's always
It's
Great
always
in the
good morning
morning
on Good
show.
Morning
Good morning
Education
education.
Show.